Welcome to this watercolour practice video. Today's reference image is by Chris Lawton and it's from the Unsplash site. I'll have information about this in the info section below. Something I want to concentrate on today is looking at the various colours you get in autumn. I don't want to be bogged down in detail. I want it to be an expressive and simple image that will look effective at the end of the painting. So let's have a look at how we do that. This is the paper I'll be using today. It's hahnemuhle. It's their anniversary paper, and that paper, obviously it's watercolour, is 425 grams or 200 pounds if you're elsewhere. The size of the paper is 24 by 32 centimetres, and I can't remember what that is in inches. Looking at the equipment I'll be using, I've got obviously to start with a pencil, and I also have brushes that I'll be using, and this hake brush. And to control the flow of paint and where I want things to go, I'll be using masking fluids. This has got a point on it. This is just general fluid. And to control water, I'll be using some tissue paper or toilet paper or whatever you can that blots well. Looking at the reference image, we need to map out the individual leaves. So we also need to put a line across where the leaves are being hung on a piece of string. So I think in the image the piece of string is in the upper third of the image. So let's see if I can draw something like straight. It doesn't absolutely have to be perfect, but it gives you a rough idea where it is. And I'm not going to be going overly detailed with this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leaves. So I'm going to put maybe one there. That's going to go. You don't see that. That also has jagged edges like that. Then your next one. That is a lot more jagged. And that doesn't quite come down as much. Again, this one here, that kind of comes round like that. I think the next one actually goes behind, and it's not quite as big as the others. And then we've got quite a large one, and in this image, because it's transparent, the leaves, this is the largest of the leaves there. You can actually see through to the other leaf. So that's something like that. Couple more to do. Again, you see through a little bit, and then it tapers off, and then like that. And this one seems to be leaning in a bit like that. And again, it's a leaf that goes like that. Make a slight adjustment there. Rub that out. That's most of the drawing done. Don't really have to be overly elaborate with this image. It's basic, and we can paint most of the details in. Here I'm using the fine line masking tool for creating a mask. I'll now go over all the rest of the leaves with normal masking fluid, and I'm using a shaping tool that is made of silicone to fill the leaves in, so that won't be damaged by the masking fluid. It really is the best thing to use rather than a brush, which you could easily damage. This will take a while to do, but it is worth it in the long run because it protects the image and leaves that nice white area that we really do want later on in the picture. I'll also do a few splats here and there around the rest of the paper that will create little white spots of interest. I'm now putting large amounts of water on the paper with the hake brush, ready for the paint. The first layer of paint should be soft and very watery so that it can all flow. I'm now mopping up some of the watery areas that has too much water in it, and then I reapply more paint. It's time to remove the mask now. I'll show you what I'm doing with this particular leaf, but I'll do the rest of the leaf off air. All the leaves in this picture have a base layer of yellow, so I'm applying that now. I'm using a hard tool here, something metal, to score into the leaves so that you can get an impression of the veins in the leaves. It works really well because the paint naturally goes towards the rest of the veins. It's best to do this before you actually start the painting. Now I'm starting to apply the individual colours to each of the individual leaves and removing bits where I need to. You can see where the veins are now in the picture, and we also start to see in this colour a slightly different value of colour, and it goes all the way to the other side of the image and it gets progressively more autumn coloured, which is a really nice way of showing off the various range of really interesting colours that you get in the autumn parts of the year. We're now getting to the reddy colours, and this is a bright red, and we're going to then go into what I used is an alizarin crimson after that. We do some more blotting out to give it bits of texture, and this gives variation in the values of the colours as well, which is a nice thing to do. I want to now define the edges of each individual leaf, and I'm doing that by creating shadow behind the appropriate leaf. Some of them overlap and create a new unique colour, and that's what I'm doing here with one or two of them. You'll not see it right away, but eventually when you get more coats of paint on this, it will end up being very effective in showing you the individual leaves themselves. So I'm putting a bit of detail in the stems as well there now. Don't bog yourself down though with too much detail, as this can hinder the actual flow of the paint. So now that's dried, we're going to continue in this process of defining certain areas, and you can see I'm feathering out areas as well so that we don't have very hard edges, and that's just by applying water to the paint on the edge, as you can see there. So this is all part of creating that definition and texture that we need to be able to get to the end painting. Again, it's that same process. We keep looking for interesting areas to apply texture and put more layers onto the leaves themselves so that it's vibrant and strong, so it's not washy and poor. In the reference painting or picture, the leaves are held on a thin piece of line, and that's what I'm putting in at this moment in time. But what I'm trying not to do is make it one overly solid line, as that might separate the top and the bottom, which we don't want. So I'm going to break it up a little bit. The darker area is just going to be not quite as strong, so it just gives the impression of something being there. This is the finished painting. It has a crazy colour background. I didn't want it plain like the original reference, and it's just a practice of getting some autumn colours, and it's a really good one to have a go at this if you want to tune up your technique with regards to the colours that are involved in various forms of autumn. Very simple, easy to do image that I masked off originally, and we slowly but surely defined each individual leaf, and it don't take too many colours. I weren't going for ultra realism, and it's slightly abstract, so you could actually use whatever colours you want with that. So I hope it's been instructional for you, and I hope to see you another time. Thank you. Bye.